So, what would you say? What are some of the cultural no-nos that you have been guilty of after moving to Italy? That anyone listening and watching this would need to take into account for sure.
All right. So, the first one is it has to do with dining in restaurants. Something a lot of Americans do is they pour olive oil and vinegar on the plate at the restaurant and then they dip their bread in it. In Italy, that is so frowned upon, and they're so confused by it because oil and vinegar are very precious to Italians. Their oil usually comes from family vineyards. Their vinegar is locally sourced, and it's like gold for them. They're just so offended if someone just pours a bunch on a plate, like makes a soup out of it and dips their bread in it. And also because Italians really obviously care about food and the meal and the dishes they're preparing. And if you're filling yourself up with bread and vinegar before the meal, then you don't have room to really enjoy the actual dishes as much. So, yeah, that's a thing I just thought was Italian because in America we go to Italian restaurants and that's the first thing they bring us. And in Italy, it's just not a part of the culture. And that's something we sort of created, I guess, outside of Italy. I know in Australia they do it as well. I'm sure other countries maybe. But for some reason, that was created as a thing that they do, but they don't. That is definitely not something you should do if you want to seem like a local and like the culture here.
Yeah, so it's not even a thing. So there is there is no other way of doing that. It's just like it's just not a thing that you do. You wait for your food and then you start enjoying it, right?
You wait for your food. If you're really hungry, you can just have a piece of dry bread, but you don't dip it in anything or pour anything on it.
That sounds counterintuitive. Like something wrong with that. There's the best things in life, just like bread and just dipping it into oil. Like why?
I know it's so good, and don't tell anyone, but I do it sometimes when no one's looking. But I never ever would do that in front of an Italian. Yeah, it's just not something they do here, and if you do it, you'll notice that they notice. So
Like literally, in the other table, people will frown.
Italians would, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a number one tip I have for people. It's a big no-no. And another thing is, I mean, there is the rule with cappuccino. You're never supposed to order a cappuccino after 11 in the morning because Italians say it's bad for your stomach to have milk and coffee mixed together after 11. So if you order a cappuccino in the afternoon, they'll give it to you, but they'll look at you a little strange and probably make fun of you.
So there's this mystical time of the day, 11 o'clock, where your metabolism just changes into something that it doesn't mix anymore. Oh, I see.
But one other difference for me being American was just understanding military time and the metric system here. We use a different system in that we use the imperial system, so I'm still trying to understand that 7 years later.